We want to plant more vegetables this year, and we've run out of room in our plastic planter boxes on our deck. So we've decided to build some bigger planter boxes out of wood and put those in our yard. So in this video, we're going to cover everything I did to build these planter boxes, all the materials that are needed for this, as well as step-by-step instructions. So this is definitely a video you don't want to miss. Now for this project, we're just going to be using standard lumber that you can pick up at any home improvement store. It's either going to be probably a Douglas fir or a pine, and you can certainly go with another type of lumber like maybe a cedar or a redwood. But if you do that, just know that your costs are going to go up significantly. And for this build, we're really trying to keep our costs as low as possible. Also, I want to point out that you should never ever use pressure treated lumber for something like this. What happens is, while the pressure treated lumber is great when it comes to protecting the wood from rotting and decay, it's really bad when it comes to the vegetables and the plants that you're putting in the box, because the pressure treated chemicals will actually leach out into the soil and potentially leach into the vegetables that you're eating. So that's not good. So never use pressure treated lumber, always use something else, and then coat the box and coat the wood with something that is a waterproofer that's non-toxic. In addition to the lumber, you're also going to need some exterior wood screws. Now you'll need two different sizes of these. You'll need 3-inch screws to assemble the box itself, and you'll need 2.5-inch screws for the bracing. You'll also need to pick up some non-toxic wood sealer if you're using standard wood like we are in this video, and I'll have some recommendations on what you could use later on. Those are all the core materials you'll need for the build, but we'll also have some other optional recommendations as we get closer to finishing up the project. As far as tools go, here's a list of everything I ended up using for assembly. We started by cutting the 2x6s into two pieces, a 6-foot piece and a 2-foot piece. And the 6-foot piece is going to be used for the length of the box, and then the 2-foot piece will be used for the depth of the box. We need two 2x6s in order to form one single layer of the box, and then we'll ultimately be building 3 separate rectangles or 3 different layers and assembling those together with the bracing. This is going to build us a box that is roughly 6 feet long, 2 feet deep, and a little over 17 inches high. When assembling each section, be sure to start by laying out the boards, and then I like to stagger the joints. And the reason I like to do this is because I feel like it adds additional stability, especially once you have multiple layers stacked on top of each other, and that will help minimize the amount of bracing that you need to use. You can see what I mean a little bit better with this illustration. So instead of having the 2-foot boards on the inside of the 6-foot boards, or vice versa, I have one 2-foot board on the outside of one corner and on the inside of the other corner. When working with wood, I always recommend pre-drilling the holes to make sure you're not going to split the wood. Now, this can certainly be reduced with a couple of different techniques, like using specific deck screws that will help with splintering. However, I found that it doesn't always work, so I always like to pre-drill the holes with an 1/8-inch bit just to be on the safe side. After attaching the top screw to all 4 corners, we flipped the section over so that way we could make sure everything was square and lined up. It's important to assemble this on a flat surface so that way when you assemble the box completely, it's as square as possible. Now, keep in mind, you can always change these dimensions to fit whatever your needs are. For example, if you just wanted a 2-foot by 2-foot planter box, you could simply cut all of your lumber into 2-foot pieces and then assemble them the same way that you're going to see here in the video. But this, to us, was the best use of the lumber that we had, and it also fit the space we're trying to put these into pretty nicely. We chose to treat all the wood sections independently before they were assembled to make sure all the sealant got inside of the cracks and crevices where it probably wouldn't go if all the pieces were assembled in the end. So once we got everything put together, we took all the pieces inside and then started to spray it down. So when it comes to waterproofing the boxes, you actually have quite a few choices. You could either go with a natural oil-based waterproofer. I've also seen some waterproofers that are specifically designed for raised garden beds that are available online. I saw one recommendation for beeswax, which I thought about trying, but I ended up going with something else for this build. We ended up finding this product from a company called Eco Advanced. This is their siloxane-based exterior wood waterproofer. And as you can see here, it says it's safe for use around plants, pests, and people. So this for us was a great choice. But like I said, there are a lot of different options that you can choose from. This solution comes pre-mixed, and all you have to do is pour it into a standard pump sprayer and apply it. It's also important to protect the surface that your wood is sitting on as you apply it, because there's a lot of runoff that comes with this product because you're trying to soak the product into the wood as much as possible. Now, in our case, we tried using some leftover newspaper. It's actually packing material that we put underneath the wood to prevent anything from going through and onto the floor. But there was just so much of it that it didn't really do the job in protecting the floor. Whatever you choose to use, I recommend you pick something that you don't mind a lot of chemicals being embedded into. So if it's something disposable, that's obviously a better choice. Once everything was dry, we took the sections back outside and started our final assembly with the braces. When putting the sections together, make sure the joints are staggered to maximize the strength of the corners. With everything lined up as best as possible, it's time to start adding the braces inside. These braces will give the box additional strength as well as tie each of the sections together. The first corner can be tricky because none of the sections are tied together yet. So what I like to do is start with the top board, install a screw, move to the bottom board, install a screw, and then finally wrap up by putting a single screw in the center board or the center section. Once all those screws are in place, then you can add the remaining screws, an additional screw into each of the top, middle, and bottom sections of the box. Repeat this process for all 4 corners, making sure everything is square and lined up. Once all 4 corners are attached, add an additional brace in the center of each of the 6-foot sections for extra strength. Once you reach this stage, your box is pretty much done, but there are a few other things you might want to consider adding. In our case, we decided to add some 1x3 trim boards to the top. The 3-inch boards adds a little bit of an overhang to the top and dresses up the appearance of the box quite a bit. We started with the front of the box and cut a 45-degree angle on the end of the 1x3 board to get everything lined up. Next, we marked the inside corner of the other 45-degree angle and then took that piece back to the miter saw and made the final cut. We used a couple of finish nails to hold that piece in place while we worked on the remaining pieces of the trim. Once we got the front and back boards installed, we worked on the side pieces and we overlaid the side piece on top of the front and the back board and then marked the angle underneath the boards with a pencil. That helped us ensure that the angle was right when we took it over to our miter saw. And don't worry if these angles don't line up perfectly. You can always come back with some sandpaper to clean everything up and blend it all together. Once everything was tacked in place with some 1.5-inch finish nails, we decided to permanently attach the trim with some 2-inch brad nails and our air gun. This trim can loosen up over time, especially if you're planning on moving the boxes around the yard, so be sure to use plenty of nails to attach the trim. At this stage, it's a good idea to go around all the trim boards and sand out the corners just to round everything off so it has a lower chance of giving you a splinter as you're working in the bed. To prevent moles from burrowing up into your raised bed, you can add some poultry netting to the bottom of the bed and attach it with some heavy-duty staples. If you get 24-inch poultry netting, it's the perfect width in this case to cover everything you need and not have to trim around the edges. You can also add some landscaping fabric to the inside of the box to just help give that extra layer of protection for any kind of weeds or anything else from popping up inside of your garden bed. And as promised, here's the materials list for all the optional items that we used in our build. To level out the boxes, we simply propped up the low corners with some leftover boards, and that seemed to do the trick. And finally, we used some raised bed soil to fill up the boxes. Now, you'll probably need between 10 and 12 bags per box, although this could vary depending on how deep you want the soil and how big your boxes are when you make them. You'll also want to be sure to follow the instructions on whatever water sealant you use before putting the boxes outside and exposing them to soil. In our case, with the Eco Advanced waterproofer, you have to wait at least 24 and ideally 48 hours before you do this step. And here's the complete list of materials that we used for the project. Now, this is intended to represent a single raised bed. However, some of these materials obviously will go farther than one raised bed, especially things like the screws and the nails. So you should factor those things into your budget if you're planning on building multiple boxes, because your project cost should go down. The overall project total for this is $156.50. And again, this cost can vary depending on what your materials costs are in your area and how many boxes you plan to build, but this should give you an idea of what you should expect to pay if you're planning on doing this project yourself. If you have any questions about this build, be sure to leave me a comment in the comment section below, and also don't forget to check out this other video coming up next.